Have you ever asked yourself what freedom really feels like? Not the kind of freedom that is handed to you with conditions, not the kind that still comes with silent expectations, but the raw, unfiltered freedom of living exactly as you choose. Most women never taste this freedom because from an early age, they are told that their worth is tied to the people around them. Family, friends, partners, children. They are taught that being surrounded by others is the ultimate measure of a fulfilled life. But what if the greatest gift you could ever give yourself is the choice to be alone? Not abandoned, not lonely, but powerfully, intentionally alone. There is a quiet strength in solitude that many never discover because they are too afraid to step into it. Yet the truth is, when you live alone, you give yourself the permission to breathe in a way that is impossible when you are constantly carrying the weight of others' opinions, moods, and needs. For the first time, every moment belongs to you. Your mornings, your evenings, your routines, all of them flow according to your rhythm, not someone else's demands. This isn't emptiness, it is expansion. It is reclaiming every ounce of energy that has been scattered on people who take and take but rarely give back. Think about the invisible chains that wrap around you every day, the subtle expectations, the silent judgments, the compromises you make just to keep harmony. Living alone snaps those chains. Suddenly, you don't need to explain why you want silence instead of noise, why you want to sleep early instead of staying up, why you want to spend your weekend in self-reflection instead of pleasing others. Every choice becomes yours, and with each choice comes the sweetest reward, the freedom to simply exist without permission. Psychologists have long spoken about the power of autonomy. Studies show that people who have control over their lives report higher levels of happiness, fulfillment, and resilience. Autonomy is not a luxury, it is a psychological necessity. And living alone gives you that gift in its purest form. You wake up and your first thought is not about who needs you, who might be disappointed, or who you need to impress. Your first thought is your own. Your day belongs to you. And that realization alone is more liberating than most people will ever understand. This is not about shutting the world out. It's about finding your place in it without being buried under everyone else's expectations. Living alone allows you to know the sound of your own voice without it being drowned out. It allows you to discover what makes you truly happy without someone else's opinion bending it. And it allows you to stand firm in your choices, knowing that you are building a life that reflects your true self, not a watered-down version shaped by compromise. When you live alone, you begin to notice something powerful. Your energy shifts. Instead of leaking into endless conversations, arguments, or compromises, it begins to flow back into you. You have more focus, more clarity, more strength to build the life you want. That strength spills into every area of your existence, your career, your health, your dreams. You become sharper, calmer, and more intentional. This is why solitude has been linked to greater creativity and problem solving. It's not because you suddenly have more time. It's because you finally have more of yourself. And here's the truth most people will never admit. Living alone makes you untouchable. When you've learned how to stand strong on your own, you stop fearing loss. You stop begging for space in someone else's life. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places you've outgrown. You rise with a quiet, undeniable confidence that cannot be shaken by rejection, abandonment, or judgment. Because you've already discovered the one truth that changes everything. You are enough on your own without anyone else's constant presence to validate it. So ask yourself, why have you been afraid of solitude? Why have you believed the lie that being alone means being unloved? Living alone is not a punishment. It is the greatest reward you can give yourself. It is the doorway to self-discovery, to peace, to the unshakable freedom of living life exactly as you choose. If you stay with me, you will see that what feels frightening at first is actually the beginning of a new power. A power that makes you stronger, more radiant, and more fulfilled than ever before. The decision to live alone is not just a choice about where you stay. It is a choice about who you become. And when you finally taste the freedom of a life designed only by you, you will never trade it back. Because once you realize that solitude is not emptiness but wholeness, you will understand why living alone as a woman is the best decision you will ever make. When you remove the noise of others, something extraordinary happens. You finally hear yourself. The silence of living alone is not an emptiness to be feared. It is the most sacred mirror you will ever stand before. For the first time, you begin to notice the difference between who you truly are and who you were trained to be. The woman who lived for approval, who shaped her words to avoid conflict, who adjusted her dreams to make others comfortable. That version of you starts to fade. What emerges instead is the real you, raw and unfiltered, untouched by anyone's opinions. This is the beauty of solitude. It reveals your authentic identity. Too often, women lose themselves in the endless roles they are expected to play: daughter, sister, partner, caregiver, employee. Piece by piece, their individuality is buried beneath layers of responsibility. But when you live alone, all of those layers start to fall away. You are no longer defined by the demands of others. You become free to ask the most important question you've probably ignored for years: who am I when no one is watching? That question is not easy to face, but it is transformative. In psychology, this process is called individuation, the deep journey of becoming whole, of discovering the unique self that exists beneath the surface. And nothing accelerates this process more than solitude. Without external voices constantly shaping your choices, you get the rare chance to explore what you actually value, what you genuinely love, and what kind of life you truly want to build. Think about the power of this. When you know yourself, you no longer fall into the trap of comparison. You don't measure your worth against another woman's looks, lifestyle, or relationships. You stop asking, am I enough? Because you finally see that your value was never in question. Living alone forces you to sit with your reflection long enough to understand that your uniqueness is not a weakness to hide, but a strength to embrace. This shift in identity is life-changing. Once you build it, no one can take it away from you. People may try to influence you, judge you, or sway your direction, but your sense of self becomes too solid to break. That is why women who have embraced solitude often radiate a quiet, unshakable confidence. They no longer need to shout to be heard or bend themselves to be accepted. They stand firm, rooted in a truth that is theirs alone. Living alone also teaches you accountability in the most empowering way. Every choice, every mistake, every success belongs entirely to you. At first, that responsibility can feel heavy, but soon it becomes the very source of your strength. Because once you realize that you are capable of carrying your own life, you will never again fear being left behind. You will never again feel desperate to cling to people who treat you as if you are replaceable. The woman who knows herself does not beg, she chooses. She does not chase, she attracts. And there is another reward waiting for you. The more you live in alignment with your true identity, the less you tolerate what diminishes you. You stop allowing toxic relationships. You stop silencing yourself to maintain false harmony. You stop investing in people who drain you, because your clarity has shown you that your energy is sacred. This self-awareness becomes your shield. It protects your heart, your peace, and your future. Many people will never experience this level of clarity because they never allow themselves the solitude required to find it. But you are different. You are choosing the higher path, the one that feels difficult at first, but leads to unshakable strength. Living alone is not just about where you live. It is about who you become in that space. It is about stepping into your own life fully without apology. And when this identity solidifies, something incredible begins to happen. The world around you starts to respond differently. People sense your strength, your certainty, your boundaries. They recognize that you are not a woman who can be easily swayed, manipulated, or diminished. You become magnetic, not because you are seeking validation, but because authenticity always commands respect. This is why living alone is not a sacrifice. It is an initiation. It is the sacred ground where the old version of you dies and the powerful, awakened version of you rises. And once you have stepped into that identity, you will never go back to living as someone else's shadow. Because you will finally know, with every fiber of your being, that you are complete, you are powerful, and you are enough exactly as you are. And in that strength, you will discover a deeper truth. Identity is not just about knowing who you are. It is about standing unshaken in a world that constantly tries to make you forget. Living alone gives you that gift, and once you receive it, no force on earth can take it away. Would you like me to continue and write the next section as well in the same flow? Another 700 to 900 words. So you'll have a seamless script ready for recording? Strength is not something you are given. It is something you build. And the moment you begin living alone, you step onto the path of building a kind. of strength that cannot be borrowed, bought, or handed down by anyone else. It is forged in silence, shaped by responsibility, and refined through the simple yet profound act of standing on your own. Many people confuse comfort with security, believing that being surrounded by others guarantees stability. But true security does not come from numbers. It comes from knowing you can stand even when no one is standing beside you. Living alone gives you that security. Every decision you make, every problem you solve, every challenge you face without leaning on others becomes a brick in the foundation of your emotional resilience. At first, it may feel intimidating. You will have moments where the silence feels heavy, where the weight of responsibility feels overwhelming. But with each passing day, you realize something powerful. You are more capable than you ever believed. The very fears that once held you back begin to dissolve, replaced by the confidence that comes only from direct experience. Psychologists have shown that solitude, when embraced with purpose, strengthens emotional regulation. It teaches you how to sit with discomfort without panicking, how to process emotions without drowning in them, how to find calm even in uncertainty. This emotional independence is priceless, because once you master it, no one else has the power to shake your peace. You no longer crumble when people withdraw their support. You no longer chase after validation just to feel seen. You no longer tolerate relationships built on dependency, because you know your worth is not tied to anyone's approval. The woman who lives alone and thrives becomes a fortress. Not cold, not unfeeling, but steady. Her strength is not the loud kind that seeks recognition, but the quiet, unshakable kind that radiates from within. This kind of strength changes the way you carry yourself. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, respond differently. People sense it in your presence. They know you cannot be easily swayed, and that knowledge alone earns you respect without you even asking for it. And it's not just about how others see you, it's about how you see yourself. Living alone gives you evidence of your own power. Every time you handle a challenge without falling apart, you collect proof that you are stronger than yesterday. This evidence rewires your mind. Instead of doubting yourself, you begin to trust yourself. Instead of fearing failure, you see it as part of growth. Instead of clinging to others for stability, you anchor yourself. That self-trust is the essence of confidence, and once you have it, you become unstoppable. This is why solitude is never weakness, it is training. Every quiet night, every decision made alone, every responsibility carried without complaint is preparing you for something bigger. You are not just surviving, you are sharpening, fortifying, rising. And as your strength grows, so does your freedom. You stop being afraid of endings because you know you can begin again. You stop fearing abandonment because you know you cannot abandon yourself. You stop dreading solitude because you've discovered it is the very soil where strength takes root. There is a reason so many people remain fragile their entire lives. They never allow themselves the chance to stand alone. They always look for someone else to hold them up. And because of that, they never discover the depth of their own resilience. But you are not like them. You are choosing the higher path, the one that demands courage in the beginning, but rewards you with unshakable power. The kind of power that cannot be taken away by rejection, loss, or betrayal. The kind of power that lives within you, anchored deep, no matter what storms arrive. Imagine how different your life becomes when you know that nothing and no one can break you. Imagine the peace of moving through the world without fear of losing people because you know you will never lose yourself. Imagine the freedom of setting boundaries without guilt because your worth no longer depends on being accepted. This is the reward of living alone. It is not isolation. It is preparation. It is transformation. It is the discovery of a strength so deep that once you taste it, you will never again doubt your ability to handle life. Every challenge you face alone sharpens you. Every moment of silence strengthens you. Every decision made in solitude builds you. And as you grow, you realize something extraordinary. The strength you once thought you needed to borrow from others has been inside you all along. Living alone simply gave it the space to rise. Would you like me to continue straight into the next section and keep this powerful momentum going so your full script flows seamlessly from start to finish? Once strength begins to grow within you, something shifts in the way you see your entire life. You no longer wait for someone else to give you permission to dream, to decide, or to act. You realize that the greatest power you hold is the power of design, the ability to shape your life exactly as you want it to be. Living alone gifts you this power in its purest form. with no competing voices, no compromises diluting your vision, and no obligations pulling you away from yourself. You become the architect of your own existence. Every choice you make begins to carry a deeper meaning. You decide how to structure your mornings, how to spend your evenings, what energy fills your space, and what kind of atmosphere supports your growth. This freedom is not small, it is everything, because the environment you live in either limits you or empowers you. When you live alone, you finally have the opportunity to create an environment that mirrors your ambitions, your values, and your soul. This is more than decoration. It is self-determination, one of the most powerful psychological needs every human being carries. Studies in psychology reveal that people who feel in control of their choices experience higher levels of motivation, purpose, and fulfillment. Living alone magnifies this truth. You are no longer shaping your time around someone else's expectations. You are shaping it around your highest vision of yourself. That is not selfishness, that is alignment. And alignment is what allows you to move through life with clarity and focus. Think about how many dreams are lost because they are constantly interrupted by the demands of others. How many passions are buried under the weight of compromise? How many women have silenced their desires just to maintain peace in a shared space? Living alone removes these barriers. It gives you uninterrupted time to invest in your goals. It gives you the freedom to build habits that strengthen you instead of weaken you. It gives you the space to create without judgment, to learn without distraction, to grow without interruption. This is where momentum begins to build. The moment you align your daily life with your highest goals, your growth accelerates. You start to notice changes in your focus, your discipline, and your energy. You begin to feel unstoppable because every part of your life is finally pointing in the same direction. There is no conflict, no resistance, no dilution of purpose, only pure forward motion. And that motion becomes a force that carries you toward everything you once thought was out of reach. The power of designing your own life also extends to the people you allow in. When you live alone, you become more intentional about the connections you nurture. You are no longer forced to tolerate energy that drains you simply because it shares your space. You get to choose who enters your world, and more importantly, who doesn't. This level of intentionality changes everything. You begin to attract relationships that reflect your strength and repel those that diminish it. Your standards rise, your boundaries sharpen, and your self-respect becomes non-negotiable. And with that comes peace, the kind of peace that cannot exist when your environment is constantly in conflict with your spirit. Living alone allows you to create a sanctuary, a place where your mind can rest and your heart can expand. This peace is not laziness, it is fuel. It recharges you, renews you, and prepares you to step into the world with strength and clarity. Without it, you are constantly running on empty, drained by the noise and chaos of others. With it, you become grounded, centered, and unshakable. This is why living alone is never just about solitude. It is about sovereignty. It is about reclaiming the authority over your own existence. It is about finally realizing that you do not need to fit into a mold someone else created. You are not here to live a life designed by others. You are here to create, to build, to expand into your full potential. And that can only happen when you have the space to breathe, to reflect, and to choose without compromise. So when you choose to live alone, you are not choosing isolation. You are choosing creation. You are choosing to step into the role of architect, designing a life that reflects your highest self. And once you experience that level of freedom, you will never again settle for living in a space or in a life that does not feel like your own. Would you like me to continue directly with the next section so the momentum builds without pause, keeping the script flowing with the same intensity? Peace is often spoken about as if it is something you stumble upon, something rare and fleeting. But the truth is, peace is something you create. And living alone gives you the rare chance to build it deliberately, to make it the foundation of your life instead of a temporary escape. When the noise of others falls away, you begin to rediscover the beauty of simplicity, the joy of small moments, and the calm that comes from being in complete control of your space and your time. This is not the empty silence that so many fear. It is the kind of silence that nurtures you, that sharpens your awareness, that allows you to feel the depth of life in every moment. You start to notice details you once overlooked, the sound of your own breathing, the stillness of early mornings, the taste of your favorite meals savored without distraction. These are not insignificant moments. They are reminders that joy does not only come from grand achievements or other people's approval, it can be found in the smallest experiences, if only you are still enough to notice. Science backs this truth. Research shows that mindfulness, the practice of being present in the moment, reduces anxiety, boosts happiness, and strengthens mental clarity. And solitude naturally invites mindfulness. With no one pulling your attention in 100 directions, you begin to slow down, to observe, to truly live instead of rushing from one demand to the next. This is where peace begins to grow, and it is a peace that stays with you, no matter what storms you face outside your home. Living alone also teaches you to savor your own company. Too many women are taught that being alone is something to be ashamed of, as if their worth only increases in the presence of others. But when you live alone, you discover that your company is enough, more than enough. You realize that laughter can come from within, that comfort can be self-created, that joy does not need an audience to be real. This discovery is revolutionary because it frees you from the constant hunger for external validation. You stop needing others to complete you because you have learned how to complete yourself. And with that self-completion comes strength. When peace is rooted in your own presence, no one can take it from you. You are no longer at the mercy of someone else's moods, approval, or availability. You can walk away from toxic environments without fear because your sanctuary is already within you. You can endure difficult days with resilience because you know how to return to stillness. You can face challenges with calm because peace has become your natural state, not a fragile gift that others grant you. This inner peace also sharpens your clarity. With the distractions of noise and conflict gone, your mind becomes sharper, more focused. You start to hear your intuition more clearly, to recognize what feels aligned and what doesn't. You no longer confuse busyness with progress or noise with importance. Instead, you begin to move with intention, choosing actions that align with your values and refusing to waste energy on things that do not serve you. This clarity transforms the way you live because it ensures that every step you take is a step toward growth, not a step into chaos. And as peace grows within you, it radiates outward. People will notice it. They will feel it in your presence. They will see that you are not easily rattled, not easily swayed, not easily provoked. This calm confidence becomes magnetic, drawing respect, admiration, and even envy. Because while most people are restless, always chasing something outside themselves, you carry a stillness that cannot be shaken. That kind of energy is rare, and it sets you apart instantly. Living alone does not isolate you. It elevates you. It turns your home into a sacred space where you can recharge, reflect, and renew. It allows you to create rituals that nourish your soul, habits that strengthen your body, and practices that sharpen your mind. And over time, this sanctuary becomes more than just a place to live. It becomes a source of power, a well you draw from every single day. Peace is not the absence of life's challenges. It is the ability to remain centered no matter what challenges come. And the foundation of that peace is built in solitude, in the moments when you choose to embrace your own presence instead of running from it. Living alone gives you the chance to master this, to build a life where calm is not temporary but permanent. And once you know this kind of peace, you stop settling for chaos disguised as love, or noise disguised as importance. You stop trading your stillness for approval. You stop betraying your own needs to keep others comfortable, because you finally understand that nothing, no relationship, no situation, no opportunity is worth losing yourself over. This is the hidden treasure of solitude. It is not emptiness, but fullness. It is not lack, but abundance. It is not loneliness, but wholeness. And when you realize that peace is something you can create and carry within you, you unlock a strength that few ever discover. A strength that makes you untouchable, radiant, and free. Do you want me to keep flowing into the next section, carrying this rising energy into the final transformation, so the script continues building momentum without pause? The strength of your life is measured not by how much you display to the world, but by how much mastery you cultivate in silence. The world is noisy, constantly demanding you prove, explain, justify, and perform. But true confidence never shouts. It radiates quietly, powerfully, and undeniably. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop justifying your choices, when you stop seeking permission, you step into the level of maturity that commands deep respect. People may not always like it, but they will feel it. The silent woman who no longer argues for her worth, carries an aura so magnetic that even those who once doubted her are forced to acknowledge her presence. Most people waste energy trying to be understood by everyone. They defend their choices, they explain their boundaries, they give endless speeches to convince others of their intentions. But the truth is, those who truly value you don't need explanations, and those who demand explanations will never be satisfied with them. A woman who knows her value learns to conserve her words. She chooses silence not because she is weak, but because she understands that her energy is sacred, her. Peace is priceless, and her time is too valuable to be wasted on minds unwilling to see her light. When you withhold the urge to explain, you reclaim your power. You take back the control that others try to strip away by pulling you into endless debates, doubts, and criticisms. Silence becomes your shield and your weapon. It communicates, I know who I am. I don't need you to approve of it. That is where true empowerment begins, when your self-assurance becomes unshakable. Not because others validated it, but because you confirmed it within yourself. There will always be people who misunderstand you, twist your words, or question your intentions. But let them. Misunderstanding is not your responsibility. Those who want to know the truth will observe your actions. Those who seek only to attack will never hear your words. Your silence protects you from falling into the trap of explaining to people who are not capable of seeing beyond their own limited perspective. And that protection is what allows you to keep moving forward without unnecessary distraction. Every great transformation begins with restraint. The ability to pause, to remain still, to not answer every accusation, to not react to every provocation is a mark of strength. Weak people explode. Weak people argue endlessly. Weak people always need the last word. But powerful women walk away with dignity intact and silence intact. That silence unsettles others far more than shouting ever could, because it is the silence of a woman who refuses to be shaken. You have to understand that silence does not mean absence of voice. It is the choice to use your voice only where it matters most. It is a declaration that your peace is not up for negotiation. It is the wisdom of knowing that not every battle deserves your presence, and not every argument requires your participation. When you grasp this, your silence becomes your loudest statement. It says, I know my worth, and I do not waste it here. There is extraordinary power in being underestimated. When you remain silent, you allow others to misjudge you, to think you are weak, to think you are passive. But the truth is, silence allows you to observe, to strategize, and to act with precision. While others are busy speaking, you are busy watching. While others expose their thoughts and emotions, you remain hidden, reserved, and untouchable. This is how you build an advantage in life, through restraint, through presence, through the discipline of saying nothing when others expect everything. People will often test you to see if they can trigger a reaction. They will push buttons, provoke insults, and throw doubts your way. They expect you to break down, to argue back, to explain endlessly. But when you refuse to take the bait, when you sit in silence and let their words collapse under their own weight, you win the battle without ever lifting a finger. Silence disarms aggressors. It weakens manipulators. It exposes liars. It frustrates controllers. And it protects your dignity in ways words never could. Silence also creates mystery. The less you explain, the less you reveal, the more powerful your presence becomes. Mystery is a magnet. It draws people in. When others cannot predict your thoughts, when they cannot access your emotions, when they cannot control your reactions, they are left with only curiosity and respect. That curiosity keeps them engaged. That respect keeps them careful. A woman who explains little and acts much is a woman who remains unforgettable. The real question is, are you willing to step into that kind of power? Are you willing to leave behind the urge to explain your boundaries, your decisions, your standards? Are you willing to stand firm in silence, trusting that your actions will speak louder than words ever could? It requires courage because silence often feels uncomfortable. It requires discipline because the world will tempt you to respond. But once you master it, silence becomes freedom. Freedom from validation. Freedom from arguments. Freedom from the exhausting cycle of proving your worth to those unworthy of seeing it. Your silence is not emptiness. It is fullness contained. It is strength refined. It is wisdom protected. And once you learn to carry it with pride, you will discover that silence is not the absence of power. It is the perfection of it. The deeper you move into this awakening, the more you realize that silence is not just the absence of words, but the birthplace of unshakable authority. Every time you choose silence instead of reacting to provocation, you prove to yourself that your power is no longer held hostage by the actions of others. You begin to see that silence is a test, a refining fire, and a discipline that transforms you into someone untouchable. It is not weakness. It is the highest demonstration of strength, because anyone can lash out, but only the truly powerful can remain calm when everything around them tries to steal their peace. This is the energy that sets you apart from the masses. This is the posture that forces respect without you ever needing to ask for it. Your silence does not mean submission. It means elevation. When you stop explaining, stop justifying, and stop begging others to understand you, you step into a realm where their validation no longer determines your worth. The moment you stop needing to prove yourself, you begin to operate from pure confidence. Confidence is not loud. It does not shout. It does not demand attention. True confidence is steady, calm, unshaken. It radiates without needing to announce itself. And the more you train yourself to stay silent in moments of attack, the more your energy speaks for you. People feel it. They sense the shift. They know that they can no longer manipulate you because their words no longer have power over your emotions. There is a profound psychological truth here. The person who controls their response controls the situation. By withholding your reaction, you force the other person to sit in their own chaos. Their words echo back at them unanswered, and in that moment, they begin to feel their own smallness. What once hurt you no longer penetrates, and the silence you hold becomes the mirror in which they see themselves. You do not need to prove who you are. They reveal themselves instead. That is the brilliance of silence. It disarms the aggressor and restores power back into your hands without a single word spoken. But silence is more than just strategy against others. It is nourishment for your own soul. When you no longer rush to defend yourself, you conserve energy for growth, for peace, for your future. You stop scattering your power in meaningless arguments and start channeling it into building the life you deserve. This shift is where transformation truly takes place. Because every time you choose silence, you teach yourself discipline. You remind yourself that you are no longer reactive, no longer impulsive, no longer a slave to your emotions. You are deliberate. You are intentional. You are in command of yourself. And that is the foundation of unstoppable strength. This kind of strength creates an aura that people cannot ignore. They might not understand it. They might even feel uncomfortable around it, but they cannot dismiss it. There is something deeply magnetic about a person who is silent, composed, and unwavering. You stop being predictable. You stop being an easy target. You stop giving others access to your emotional buttons, and without realizing it, you become a mystery they cannot solve. That mystery is where your power lies. The less you reveal, the more they want to know. The less you explain, the more they wonder. And the less you react, the more they recognize that you cannot be controlled. Silence also reconnects you with your intuition. When you are no longer clouded by noise and unnecessary conflict, you begin to hear your own inner voice more clearly. That voice guides you toward peace, toward clarity, toward choices that honor your value. You stop being distracted by what others are saying and start focusing on what truly matters to your spirit. This is why silence is sacred. It creates space for wisdom to rise within you. And when wisdom speaks, it is always quiet, always steady, always certain. That certainty is what gives you peace in moments that used to overwhelm you. There is also an unspoken respect that silence demands. People may not admit it openly, but they notice the ones who do not get dragged into every argument. They notice the ones who walk away instead of fighting to be heard. They notice the ones who preserve their energy instead of throwing it away on people who do not deserve it. And that quiet respect, over time, becomes admiration. Because in a world that thrives on noise, chaos, and reaction, the one who remains silent becomes a rare one. And rare always carries value. Rare is always respected. Rare always leaves an imprint that noise cannot erase. The silence you carry is not emptiness. It is full of meaning, full of presence, full of authority. It is a silence that says, I know who I am, and I refuse to let anything shake that truth. That kind of silence is unbreakable. It turns you into a force that cannot be ignored because your power is not in your words. It is in your restraint. The world may try to provoke you, but your silence will remind you that you are untouchable. And the more you master this art, the more you rise above the noise, the drama, the chaos that once consumed you. This is the silence that heals, the silence that empowers, the silence that transforms weakness into strength. It is the silence of someone who has stopped chasing approval, who has stopped fighting unnecessary battles, and who has learned that true power does not come from being heard, it comes from being unshakable. And when you reach this state, nothing and no one can ever take it from you.